Motivational speakers are scum. I feel the same way about the internet millionaires that want to share their secrets for success, which are all contained in this book. I remember having one come to my high school senior year, but I don't remember a damn thing he said. All I know is most the time he sounded really sad. This right here. I was told it's important to be innovative and to think outside the box. Like WTF bro, I am perfectly fine in my box, thank you very much. Guys, I have a Lamborghini in my garage, care to buy some books so you can become a millionaire yourself? They took us to one as a field trip in school. It was excessively loud and cramped and there were a lot of ads and waiting. Most of us went to the quiet room to play Yenga. Yes, OMG, also most TED Talkers, the title sounds great and when I actually listen to it I feel scammed AF. There are some good ones but man. Really no different from cult leaders. Unscrupulous grifters preying on the vulnerable. What about Joel Osteen? I've donated to him and he has helped with my hahaha, I'm kidding. Darman and Jay Shetty come to mind. Those guys are cringe-inducing. They all say the same recycled shit anyways. I had those in school, but the only thing I remember is wondering about how a person gets in that line of work. Getting paid to talk to dumb kids a few times a week seemed pretty dope to young me. When I was in the psych ward, a nurse made us listen to a motivational speaker. Oh, and it wasn't just anyone. It was a famous actor. Talking about something about doing what he wanted so life became better for him. Again, it was a psych ward where 90% of them were there for suicidal reasons. But apparently listening to this guy talk about how great his life is will make us feel better. I basically slept for the whole thing. Matt Foley is pretty good. I feel like the bigger problem is, a school is paying tens of thousands of dollars for a speaker. Drugs? No thanks. I'll have a Minotaur. Right under them is motivational influencers that are all over the socials nowadays. No one gives a shit about your breathing technique, Braden. People go there, this makes money, this means they have demand. The end. You may think they are like that, but the reality is that someone's needs are being met by whatever the hell it is that they sell. TED Talks are even worse. It's no different than motivational speakers that just want to grind their specific narratives down people's throats. That's what it's been about for a while now, is grooming people to think their way, and if they sugarcoat their wordy bullshit enough, they'll have followers. FR, why not just motivate your students yourselves? Why must you pay someone to tell your students someone believes in them? Because let's be honest, the school system in general doesn't give a shit, so long as they make themselves look good. It's looking good functionality. That's why most shit we learn doesn't matter, or only matters in certain situations. One time my school had a drug forum with a speaker to tell us about how drugs are bad. He talked a lot about how drugs made him less depressed and helped him make better grades in school. That was probably the most useless speaker I've ever heard. These guys charge schools thousands of dollars, in some cases, tens of thousands. The schools aren't forced to have a motivational speaker. They chose to bring someone in to do it, for an agreed upon amount. So how much they charge for their time is kind of irrelevant. Though I agree, most of the time they are liars or drastically exaggerate their stories. I had a high school teacher who told us to aspire to be speakers. I agree that most are fraudsters, but that is on the school administration for not bringing in real motivational people. What bugs me more is the host of people who are life coaches. I'm sorry, what degree, expertise, or experience qualifies you to be a life coach? They just prey on people who are down in the dumps, need actual therapy, and befriend them in a twisted manner. And guess what? Many of them are motivational speakers. Zig Ziglar was a real og. I loved that guy. I think it depends on the subject. Some do what exactly they're supposed to do, and some entice others to believe or follow what they want without second thought. I remember at my old Christian school, this speaker came in who was talking as if everyone knew that there were 8 days of creation rather than 7 days. A lot of us were weirded out, but at the same time, we listened because our school let him in. It wasn't until my mom, who was a teacher, and a few others were like, we need to get him out of here. I think I heard Obama makes about $400K a speech. I feel the same way about psychics and mediums. They are con artists that prey on suffering and grieving of families, feeding them made up shit for a quick buck. They're basically the atheist version of cult leaders. I remembered being forced to attend one back in middle school. It was horrifying how instigating it was. I can't stand them. I know a lot of people from college who decides to become motivational speakers. They make up programs with slogans and write terrible books to sell to young people, and the school ears it up. So fucking dumb. One dude wrote a book on how to survive on a college budget, with mostly things to add to ramen noodle cups and cook in dorms. When he was in college, he lived at home in his upper middle class neighborhood and his mom cooked for him. What an ass. There are tons of free podcasts with motivational speakers that don't charge. If you don't pay for the help or information, then it's not a scam. If you're getting help through their message and want to buy their products, then why not? If you don't get off your keister and focus on your grades, you'll end up like me. Living in a van, down by the river. LOL, like bidden. It's the same thing as influencers on social media though. Whether it's advertising to you or giving hope, or influencing you through sex appeal to donate money to them, if there's a demand, someone has to fill it. A lot of the higher education system is basically a scam too, where you pay a shit ton of money for nothing. This is unpopular. My HS accidentally invited a motivational speaker who was also a white supremacist and Nazi apologist. What about Thomas Edwards? Gary V. I feel like it goes in one ear and out the other most of the time anyway. I dunno man, Rick Rigsby is GOAT. Love that video. Sometimes it works. But most of the time it doesn't. I had a friend who was a drug addict. She joined Scientology to help her get clean. After she got clean, she didn't need Scientology anymore, so she left. They find her every year and show up at her door to ask her to join again. My high school had weekly speakers every Wednesday for the entire school. Occasionally book authors, but typically people who motivationally speak for a living. We had a woman come and speak about how you need to flex yourself to flex your life, essentially saying you need to work with what you got to get what you want. Our principal kicked her off the stage halfway through her lecture, because she openly said, I flex my good looks to get hired to speak at schools. Needless to say, she exposed herself, and maybe our principal too, not to mention the industry at large. At least you get to skip class to go on your phone when they speak at school. My parents are really into motivational speakers, and most of them just come across to me as disingenuous at best. They seem super fake to me and not at all like they actually want to help people, just want the success and notoriety, not to mention some of them just give terrible advice. Agree. Fuck these people. Sociopaths, every single one of them. I love that literally all of the business whiz guys were born rich. Gary V, for example. Fuck him. I meant someone who marketed themselves as a life coach. His personal life as well as credit score was a shitstorm. I used to live with a lifestyle coach who was known enough to be featured on morning talk shows and magazines. Thought it would be a good environment for me considering I grew up in an abusive household, but it became one of the most toxic environments I've ever been in. She was a psycho and eventually kicked me out after 2 months to turn my room into a doggy daycare, in an apartment on the 3rd floor lol. I ended up moving back with my parents. I'll tell you how to be rich and successful. But first, give me all your money. So I kept working. And keeping working kept me going. And look where I am today. Oh, you have no motivation? Just keep going. YK that Gary V? I hate that man so much. He steals thousands from people to motivate and just basically says fuck and fuck the system over and over again until you agree with him. And he's so popular for no reason. Include the whole self-help industry. Agreed. They're kind of like psychics. They speak in generalities that tend to be effective. Profiting from a business which is used to inspire children isn't a scummy thing. How can you guarantee their stories are lies? How do you think they got to that point in the first place? The scummy thing is the price they charge for something that inevitably bounces onto deaf ears. Motivational speakers are useless for children, and should be reserved for teens and young adults. It's fun to drive my Lamborghini around in the Hollywood Hills. Can you believe just 1 year ago I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with these 2 girls? Oh wait, that's the wrong fantasy. OP, I want to shake your hand. The worst is the Instagram life coach. You can tell most of them are a mess themselves. Exactly. LOL, a friend of mine's dad is a motivational speaker and another of our friend's mom is a principal at a school and is pissed at the motivational speaker's $20,000 bill. That whole industry is bullshit and America starts indoctrinating people at a young age in the power of positive thinking and motivational speaker crap. I remember having to buy and read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and the workbook in 9th grade in a business technology class and the same teacher trying to sell us tickets to go see Stephen Covey. Freaking cults. Some can be genuinely good and have a real and remarkable story to share. But there are also some slick marketing gurus in there that are simply bullshitting you. This shouldn't be an unpopular opinion, this should be a known fact. Me too. They commodify people's life struggles and have nothing useful to say whatsoever. Especially that one dude, forgot his name, but he looks like a scumbag, that keeps convincing people to quit their job and start a business. Like, dude? Do you know how many startup business failed? Like, the dude wanted to be a lawyer but he insisted that he quit school/job and take risk, but the risk are absolutely unnecessary. You are sacrificing $120,000 to $180,000 yearly salary or more for a startup that might or might not work. I don't mean starting a business is not great, in fact I encourage it, but you can start a business while you work that job. And here is this dude putting inspirational music in the background while hyping the goddamn crowd like it's some African priest public exorcism. I fucking hate inspirational/motivational speaker. Jay Shetty must be the worst. His quotes are the written equivalent of baby food. Mushed up muck for the childish of intellect. Don't stop breathing because one day you'll need to breath. Shit like that. Motivational speakers, just got to keep being positive and move forward. People with depression, ow wow, why haven't I thought of that? Also, 20-year-old life coaches are a fraud. They're not very motivating. All through high school I didn't pay attention to a single motivational speaker and neither did anybody else. There is no point in schools bringing them in. Only one I remember was this former heroin addict who told us how he shit himself during the SATs due to withdrawal. Best way to get kids to say no to drugs. The worst one at my school was Chad Varga. He was an ex-NBA player and spent most of the time bragging about his hot wife and kids, and how he makes $30,000 per talk, but was being so generous and doing it pro bono for our school. They always made you feel that if you hadn't been running a successful business since you were 4 years old, you were worthless and would go nowhere in life. Not all of them make up lies. It's a job, just like public speakers, authors, life coaches, or social media influencers. It must be nice to have a job, you know? If someone is willing to pay, more power to them.